YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with draft grades for all 32 NFL teams. I thought there was quite a few teams that killed it, gave out a couple A+. We graded hundreds of players before the draft for you guys to see. Now we're grading all 32 teams. Let's start with the AFC East teams. The Patriots did very well. I gave them an A. They started with Will Campbell, something that needed to be done. Drake made that left tackle for right now and the future. They added Travion Henderson in the second round, and I was more of a second round grade for Travion Henderson. Some people were overhyping him a little bit, but they get an explosive back, and I think perfect to pair with Ramondre Stevenson, who is more of a physical back. So those two together, splitting carries, makes a lot of sense in that offense, and Henderson can catch the ball from May as well and do some damage in the passing game. Kyle Williams, loved this pick. This was a fantastic pick. He was my number 6 receiver, so explosive. I think him and Diggs, fantastic. Williams could learn from a similar style experienced receiver in Stephon Diggs as well. So this really upgrades that group. And then Jared Wilson, one of the more athletic centers you will ever see. And he was a one-year starter. And he looked like a natural. So it feels like, even though he was already polished, already good, he's kind of just getting going at the same time. So he's going to give Bradbury some competition. He could start. I haven't really been a huge Bradbury guy, even though he can run block very well. So that'd be a competition. Craig Woodson was very underrated. Downhill thumper type safety, but athletic and solid in coverage. We could see him get reps early on. Joshua Farmer could be one of the steals of the draft. He was a second round grade for me, and it sounded like some durability things popped up last second. I don't know how serious that could be after we haven't heard anything about that all pre-draft process. I thought this was a steal. He's going to be part of the rotation early on, but he's going to play. This dude has got elite length. He's a physical, explosive defensive tackle. That was fantastic. Braden Swinson, yes, he needs to do better setting the edge and being involved in the run game, even though he can tackle, but this is a natural getting after the quarterback. As a pass rusher, he's a second-round type player, but you factor in the other things that kind of made Oregon not like him and have him transfer to LSU, kind of pushed him down a little bit, but it's perfect. He's going to rotate in on passing downs. And then, up to that point, it felt like borderline an A+ draft, and then they kind of took care of special teams a little bit. You can debate on, is it worth it drafting kickers and long snappers? They got some good ones there. Marcus Bryant, offensive lineman's a decent one, decent addition in the 7th round as well. But yeah, this is a really good draft. They were pretty close to being an A+, but I felt like an A was pretty fitting for them, as they got a lot of guys that are going to contribute right away, a lot of good players, and some good value, some picks that kind of felt like borderline steals as well. So a great job for the New England Patriots. I gave the Dolphins an A-. I thought they did a pretty good job. Kenneth Grant was one of my favorite players in the draft. If you guys saw it every single year before the draft, I make my guys list. There's only 20 players on there this year. My favorite players in the draft, and Kenneth Grant was on there. So they got a guy from that list. And that's fantastic start there, and they needed a defensive tackle. You get a guy that improves the run defense instantly, has upside versus the pass. He's going to create for his teammates because he needs to be double-teamed. Then you get Jonas Savaiinaya, who I liked. I thought he was the best day 2 interior offensive lineman that also has experience recently playing tackle. In the Dolphins, I thought it was kind of important to get guys that, at each position, or get a guy that can play both, and the versatility, and you get that here with Savaiinaya. So we'll see where they use him. I like him in both spots. I would prefer him at guard, but the Dolphins could use, again, a guy at either spot. Jordan Phillips in the 5th round. That's about right where I thought he would go. He's an undersized nose tackle, but he's pretty powerful. He's very young. Best football is ahead of him. Jason Marshall was a former top recruit. He had flashes, looking like a future first-round pick early in his career. Just never put it together. Very inconsistent, but he has those flashes, and they needed a corner. And then Dante Trader, a solid safety, but definitely on the slower side, so that was the issue with him, but right around the range I thought he would go. And then you're kind of in the range of, and again, I like the top of the draft, and this part's kind of, I don't want to say bringing it down, because it's not like they're bad picks, but they're kind of in the B+ range. But then Ollie Gordon, this is a great pick and a great fit. He was elite when he played outside zone at Oklahoma State. They switched things up, and then he wasn't as good, but still very good. The Dolphins run outside zone. They're lacking. They got running backs, good ones. They're lacking a physical back. They get that with Ollie Gordon. He's an underrated route runner in the passing game, and he's a fantastic pass protector, which is big for Tua. So I love that pick so much. That's a home run pick there. And Quinn Ewers, to me, that's a home run pick there. He dropped because he had major durability concerns down the stretch, and he didn't play as well, but again, he was playing injured, and he had some games, some big games against big competition throughout his career where he played like a top 10, top 5 draft pick. Sure, there wasn't enough of those. If there was, he would have went a lot earlier, even with the injuries. But get a guy like that with the experience playing against good competition. He's got arm talent. He's got some size to him. He's not the biggest dude in the world, but I think a really good situation to go learn behind Tua and possibly step in you hope not, but sometime soon. And Zeke Biggers was one of my favorite deep sleepers. Big nose tackle. He actually moved around a bit. He's got some good size to him. He stood out to me when playing Notre Dame, and that's a really good team, really good offensive line. He was blowing up plays like crazy, against an elite offensive line, elite running back, just blowing it up. So if you're able to do that, I know it needs to be more consistent, but he showed me something there. So I thought that was a sneaky pick down here. And they needed D tackles, and they got a bunch of guys that could play nose tackle here. I think Phillips is more likely to slide, out a little bit more, he's more suited for that, which could result in a little bit more production, I hope at least, that he had. So I thought this was a pretty good draft for the Dolphins. Keep in mind they went from 2nd to 5th round, so you don't really expect them to get crazy good players there. I thought they did pretty well, especially that 6th and 7th round. They did very, very well. So the Miami Dolphins had a solid 2025 draft. New York Jets did pretty solid. Gave them a B. They started off with Armand Membu. That was a solid pick. They needed a right tackle. Some people wanted Tyler Warren maybe, but they get a very solid plug-and-play right tackle, and just like that, the offensive line's looking a lot better just, from one player, really, just kind of completing it. As long as they're healthy, that's kind of the big question with them. The interior, Fashanu last year. Mason Taylor, this is where I had him graded, right around where he should have went. So, and they get an upgrade at tight end. This guy has a lot of upside as a route, in terms of production. I think will grow more and more as his career goes on. Justin Fields going to have to give him the ball pretty consistently, though, so that'll be the only question there. But I think this team will do a lot of damage running the football. But Mason Taylor has a bright future. And Azareye'h Thomas, there was questions about his long speed, but he's only 20 years old. He can get faster. He's really good in press man. And I know it's a zone league these days, but Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilks, now on the Jets, as their coach, defensive coordinator, they run a ton of man coverage. So this is a great fit here. Pretty good value. So far it's looking really good, I thought. B+, A- range. Arian Smith was a total off-the-wall pick. This was a major reach for me. He has elite speed, and that's great, for the NFL level. It's obviously huge in football, but he had the most drops out of anybody in the Power 4 conferences, so that's not ideal. If I see a receiver or tight end that drops the ball a lot, I'm instantly turned off. It just, right now, it feels like just a speed guy, like a track guy. That's what it feels like right now. So I thought a team would maybe take a flyer on him in the 7th round. They took him in the 4th. So I didn't, that one, they took a hit from that one for me. Malachi Moore, who was better earlier in his career because he played more in the slot, but then moved kind of more free safety recently, and he was solid there, just wasn't as good. Jets, have Michael Carter in the slot, so how much will Moore play? Will they try to use him at free safety? They brought in Andre Sisco there, so this is probably more so depth right now, and then maybe he ends up being like a Brian Branch type player. Brian Branch took his spot at Alabama, but Moore was really good before that. And a couple Miami guys. I like the Tyler Barron one. Tyler Barron one is a sneaky, that's right, it's not like a steal or anything like that, and that's how I kind of grade these. I kind of go by where I had these guys ranked / graded. It fits. Need plays a little part, and then value of pick. A lot of things factor in. But Barron right around where he should have went. But I like him. He was good on Tennessee, but they kind of moved him around a little bit. Then Miami had him rush just purely off the edge, like you should with Tyler Barron, and he really racked up the production. So just more reps in the appropriate spot. Maybe he just continues to get. We might see him in the rotation this year as well. So just felt like this was a B, maybe close to being a B+ for the New York Jets. So they did pretty solid. The Buffalo Bills, this is when I ended up bumping up to a B. I kind of started in the C+, B- range. I really sit down and evaluate this. I go look at my grades. A lot of it I remember my own grades, and just really to think about fit. Will they make an impact? So this one ended up climbing up a little bit for me, but Maxwell Harrison, the start, he's a good player, a lot of upside, kind of a boomer bust guy. I liked him the 2nd round, but this is a very late 1st round pick. I thought there were better corners, but those corners had more concern with the injuries. So it was an okay pick here. Then TJ Sanders, I liked him a little bit more in round 3, but he's a good football player. They did trade up to get him, so I didn't love that. We'll circle back, but in a second. But Landon Jackson, I love that pick. I thought he could have went in the second round to the Bills. I thought that was a very realistic possibility, and they get him. He's going to make an impact right away. He's lengthy. He's a freak athlete. Deion Walker, that's right around where he should go. The fourth round, a big body nose tackle. He plays a little tall, but he's got good production. He's a guy that you know some teams may have to double. Jordan Hancock's a really good slot corner. It's just we're not going to see him much unless Taron Johnson gets injured. So we don't want that. Jackson Hawes is the best blocking tight end in the class. Again, this is probably where he should have went, so it's not like extreme value, but it's a good pick. Maybe we won't see him a ton right away, but he blocks like an offensive tackle. Dorian Strong's a really good value pick here. Really sticky in coverage type corner from Virginia Tech. He was a little bit better in 23 than 24. They need corners. This is a guy that we could see. You hope not, though. You hope it's Benford and Hairston, but it's a guy that we could see early on, and he's going to be second string probably. Chase Lunt is an interesting one. Really big and really athletic. The combination of that's pretty good. He's got to kind of keep his body under control, even though he's athletic. He's not fully under control yet, but there's a lot to like there in the 6th round. This is really good value, and it's quality depth for the Buffalo Bills, and Prather, a flyer in round 7. So, you know, there's some that were a little early on, and then there's some, you know, right around where there's a steal in Jackson, and there's some right around where they should go. So it kind of felt, yeah, maybe like a B-, but I'm going through this, and I'm for a team that's a contender already, they got a lot of impact here, even if it was a little early for some of these guys. Harrison's going to start for them, be really solid. Sanders, you know, probably going to play a lot for them and be an impact. Like I said, I think Landon Jackson will be an impact. Walker should be an impact. You know, they fill a lot of needs with a lot of decent, different types of players is my point. So we'll see these guys play. So that resulted in me bumping it up a little bit to a B. So they did a decent job. We got our first A+. There's only a couple of them. The Giants knocked it out of the park. Abdul Carter to start. That was expected, but this is an elite prospect they get at number 3. Jackson Dart was actually my number 2 quarterback, and I was happy that I had him at number 2 because the significant difference between, you know, the other guys that were in the conversation with him and where he went. So, but we got to see it work out in the field. But he's got a lot of upside. Sounds like the Giants love him. They love what they heard from him in the pre-draft process, what they learned from him. So he's going to be a backup right away, which I want him to be. If he was starting right away, I'd be concerned. This guy needs to be a backup right away. He's got a lot of upside. He has traits you look for. He's got talent. So this is, you know, learn from Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. It's a pretty good situation. This coaching staff needs to get more out of players, though. Then Darius Alexander, which was a second-round guy. He probably would have been an early second-round guy, maybe late first-round guy if he wasn't an older prospect from a smaller school. But it doesn't change that this dude is really good. He's got traits, athletic traits, physical traits with the length. He explodes off the ball. He's got power. He's a playmaker. See him, you know, get an interception against Pittsburgh, a big-time school there. So this guy's a ball player. And you start to put it all together. Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Thibodeau probably a rotation guy, but Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, inside him, maybe the best in football, Dexter Lawrence, and Darius Alexander. And they got a couple other guys that could play as well. They, you know, signed Roy Robertson Harris. That is one of the better defensive lines in football, and you get good value at Alexander. Then Cam Scadaboo, I think everyone's favorite player in the draft, perhaps. I had a 3rd-round grade on him. Yes, there's a lot of mileage. Yes, he isn't the fastest guy in the world. He doesn't really run by guys. Sometimes he does, though. I think he plays a little faster. But the guy gets the job done. He sees the hole, he hits it. He can make you miss with a little bit of jukes, a little bit of wiggle. He will put his head down, run you over. He'll carry guys for yards. The whole world knew he's getting the ball, and teams couldn't stop him. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I like Tyrone Tracy. That was one of my sleepers last year going into the draft. He played well for them, some fumbles and bad moments. And I like him. I think Scadaboo's better. I think they got a good 1-2 punch. I think we're going to see Scadaboo do some damage. Marcus Bowe was a really, really good right tackle for Purdue. He could have went as high as the 2nd round, maybe the 3rd round. Yes, he's a little undersized for tackle and lengthwise, and that was the issue because he doesn't fit the measurables for tackle, and there's a lot of guys like that, and you go, oh, you just put him to guard or center. With Bowe, his only weakness is to anchor or, you know, the power. So that's going to be even more of a problem if you slide him inside. So I kept him at right tackle, but, you know, it's not like he's severely lacking length. He's a good right tackle, which the Giants could use a near future right tackle, but they could also use right now an upgrade at right guard or even center, you know, if John Michael Schmitz doesn't figure it out. He might make an impact for them right now. If he doesn't, it's going to be next year in any of those spots. So that is an insane value pick. Thomas Fedone II, Nebraska tight end, another really good value pick. I thought he was going to go in the 4th round, maybe 5th. He can block. He's got good size. He has production catching the ball. He's pretty tough after catching the ball. The Giants kind of sneakily could have used the tight end. I could see this guy making an impact right away. And then Corey Black he's not supposed to be a flyer guy. He's probably supposed to go in the 5th or 6th round, but that's a good flyer down here. A freak athlete corner that played pretty well, and Oklahoma State was a little disastrous this year. I mean, this guy could be a quality depth corner for them with a lot of upside. I thought the Giants killed it. I felt like, Jackson Dart wasn't an A-plus pick, even though I like Dart. And another thing to factor in, they had to trade up to get Dart, but you expect teams like that to trade up to get a quarterback, trade up in the 1st round to give up a boatload of stuff. It was an even trade, and that's kind of rare for the team trading up, especially for a quarterback to get that 5th-year option in round 1. So I think they did a good job with that trade. You go down the list here, there's A-plus picks all over the place, not every single one of them, and they filled needs, they got fits. The only thing is, we've seen them make good draft picks in the past. Sometimes they pan out, and some guys that you're scratching your head going, how is this guy not better? How is he not good? And you kind of put it on the coaching staff. Them failing to develop guys, them failing to kind of keep guys consistent. So that's kind of the only question here. This might be their last rodeo if they can't figure it out. And then Joe Shane under kind of some fire as well. But to me, it's quite obvious that he understands talent. He could evaluate talent looking at these drafts. The Giants killed it. As the draft was going on, I was more and more impressed. The day 3 was absolutely ridiculous, that day 3. So clap it up for the Giants. Incredible job. Only 5 draft picks for the Washington Commanders, and I thought they absolutely killed it. This is as good as you could see from a 5-pick draft. And I did my guys list before the draft. Obviously, there was 20 players on that list. They only had 5 picks. They got 2 players from that list, 2 out of 20. It was Trey Amos and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. But they started with Josh Connerly, and that kind of completes the offensive line. They get a really good offensive tackle, and there are some concerns about him playing anything other than left tackle. I heard those concerns, months ago, but I'm confident with it. It just makes the offensive line much better no matter where he plays. Obviously, Laramie Tunsil's playing left tackle. They do a really good job. That staff did a really good job last year. They can develop these guys and just learning from Laramie Tunsil. I'm going to be optimistic with that, and either way, he's a good player. The best part about Connerly is how far in the rep he is still holding down his blocks. Like, he just keeps fighting, and with Jaden Daniels and his legs, I think it's going to be even easier for him. Trey Amos, one of my favorite players, one of my favorite corners in the draft, had a 1st-round grade on him. For them to get him late 2nd, they could have picked him in the 29th with the 29th pick, and that would have been a good pick, and he would have been a day 1 starting corner. So you're getting impact here. Connerly, Amos, these guys are going to start. They're going to help this team. Jalen Lane was a very underrated player in this draft. I love that pick in the 4th round. That's right where I thought he should go. And the Commanders they needed another receiver. A guy that can play in the slot is fantastic. This is a slot receiver with some length. He doesn't really have a ton of height, but he has ridiculous length. Lacking production, but it wasn't his fault. The guy was always open. Virginia Tech, a little inconsistent as a passing team. They were pretty strong as a running team, but I think he'll have a better career in the NFL. He's a freak athlete as well. Kane Madrano was a guy that was really growing on me the last month, the last few weeks going into the draft. This is a freak athlete linebacker. The way he moves, around the field, throughout the field, especially in coverage, so smooth. Great athlete, can get his hands on the ball, great in coverage. Misses some tackles. He can put a little more strength on, but he's going to sit behind Luvu and Bobby Wagner to start, so I think that's a perfect situation for him. UCLA kind of used him in different, as a Swiss Army knife at times as well, so we'll see maybe him used a little bit different ways early on. The Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, one of my favorite picks in the entire draft. I had a 3rd-round grade on Krosky-Merritt because the guy can just flat out run. He sees the hole, he hits it, he's got a lot of juice, he can make people miss. It did not surprise me that he was available down here, though, because the running back class is so deep. He only played 1 game this year. He's 24 years old, so there probably wasn't a ton of teams lining up to get him. They're like, we'll just take this other running back instead. So it made sense that he dropped. It does not change that this guy can flat out play. The Commanders needed a running back. This is the only one they picked up. I'm going to say this guy's going to make an impact this year. He's that solid and can contribute to this Washington Commanders team. The only knock is they didn't draft an edge rusher. That's people are probably pretty upset about that because they badly needed one. But I thought they came away. So I guess you can't say it's a perfect A-plus draft, but I thought they came away with maybe the best possible I mean, I guess they could have got a really good edge rusher somewhere, but pretty close to the best possible 5-pick draft there is. I was very impressed with the Washington Commanders this weekend. The Eagles get a long list of players, and they get an A as well. There's a lot of teams that knocked it out of the park here. John Campbell, they start off with that. I mean, it's a risky pick up there because the injuries he recently had and has had in his career, and then where you play him. I feel like they'll use him off the edge a little bit more, but they know talent, obviously. But they're kind of starting in the B range. And then Andrew Makuba, I was preaching it leading up to the draft. That's a perfect C.J. Gardner-Johnson replacement. And I love his game, how fearless he is, how instinctive he is in coverage. He's going to be really good. It would not, I said it before, it wouldn't surprise me if he's the best safety in his class, especially playing with the Eagles and a perfect fit and a very good defense. Ty Robinson is a really good Milton Williams replacement. This dude is a machine, high motor guy, production getting after the quarterback. Mac McWilliams is good playing in the slot and outside, so he could be useful to them, maybe rotation for now. Smile Mondone Jr. is going to be good. I think he's going to pan out for the Eagles. This is an athletic linebacker that was left on an island in the slot and coverage at times, and he looked really good there. He's very, very rangy. His best football is ahead of him. It's about staying healthy. Drew Kendall, really good interior offensive lineman, played center at a high level for Boston College, and so that's a quality depth pick, which is pretty important there for the Eagles, as they had their interior offensive line was a little beat up last year. Then Kyle McCord, I think it's a pretty good value pick in the 6th round, even though we're not going to see him play early on. Strong arm, showed he's coachable, showed he could improve this year. Miles Hinton played left tackle very well for Michigan. I thought he was quite underrated. Cameron Williams, he struggled this year, to be honest, and he had penalties, but this dude is freaky. He's freaky. He has the traits you look for. Long, athletic, perfect situation for him to go sit, learn, behind a guy like Lane Johnson. And he possibly has this is a really good value pick in the 6th round. Really solid future for him. I'm glad he's not playing somewhere early on. Antoine Powell-Ryland, proven production. He's undersized. He doesn't really have a collection of moves, but he's athletic. He can win with speed. The get-off is there. He just gets the quarterback. And it's a really good depth piece for the Eagles there to fit their defense down here. So this is a really solid draft. I mean, there's not a ton of wow A+ picks, but I mean, there's a few here. There's quite a few here and there, but there's just a lot of really solid picks that fit what the Eagles are looking for. And there's some guys that can even make an impact early on. So I think this was a firm A for Philadelphia. The Dallas Cowboys get a B+. They started off, not a super sexy pick with Tyler Booker. He's a really good physical guard, but it felt a little early. I thought a guy like Matthew Golden could do a little bit more damage for them there. So I wasn't in love with that pick, even though I know he's going to be a plug-and-play starter. He's going to be very good. And it was interesting they didn't take a receiver, maybe their biggest need in this whole draft. But Jaden Blue actually could line up in the slot. We'll get to him. But Donovan Ezaraku, steal. And the Cowboys won day 2. They had the best second day in the NFL draft. We talked about that in a video after day 2. Donovan Ezaraku could have been a 1st-round pick. Super consistent getting after the quarterback. Super productive. A great athlete. Very long. Doesn't win with power enough, so that's probably why he slipped through a little bit. And Savone Revel Jr., he has some durability concerns. This is a super talented corner. If he stays healthy, he has a chance to be the best corner in this class because he has some freaky traits, some good playmaker, gets downhill, tackles even behind the line of scrimmage. So he's fun. Pair him with Diggs, and Deron Bland, of course. And, they have some other pieces there, but that's a lot of fun there. Then Jaden Blue is one of my favorites in the class. This guy is a weapon. He is a freak athlete at the running back position. He's another guy with good vision, home run hitter. He's not just a pass-catching back because you see the vision, you see him set up runs and just go, but he can run routes out of the backfield from the slot. He's going to be a weapon for the Cowboys. He's going to be very, very productive this year. Shamar James, athletic linebacker from Florida, right around where we thought he can go. Cornelius started that tackle for the Oregon Ducks, kind of around where he should go, maybe 7th round. Jay Toyai from UCLA is a run-stopping nose tackle. He dropped because he doesn't give you any value in the passing game on defense, but Cowboys don't really need that. They don't need that, right? They need someone that can stop the run on early downs, and you get that here. Phil Maffa looked like a future third round pick after 2023. This year was a little underwhelming, but he was playing a little banged up as a physical back. And a flyer there, late 7th round. You start a little, not the greatest in the 1st round, but day 2 was insane. And day 2 combined with Jaden Blue, and there's some other good picks sprinkled in. It's a really solid draft for Dallas, but yeah, in the first round, people a little underwhelmed with that one, but I felt like a B+ was fitting. Steelers get an A. Derek Harmon, we talked about that all pre-draft process. Great fit, perfect fit, very talented. They get him at 21. Caleb Johnson in the third round is a steal. He's my number 3 running back in the class. I thought he had the best vision in the class, can hit home runs, has an ideal build. He plays faster than he timed, and it's not like he times slow. 4.5 for a guy his size in running backs, not slow. It's just not crazy fast, but fine with it. Underrated pass catcher. Just love the vision. He can make people miss a little bit better. He can work on that, but he has some power to him. He's going to be the starting running back for the Steelers, and I know they're going to use Jalen Warren a bit, but Caleb Johnson can be very, very productive. Jack Sawyer in the 4th round, solid pick. Stops the run at a high level for an edge rusher. He's a little tight, lacking some length, but he was productive getting after the quarterback, so a good rotation, which is very important for the Steelers. They always like to have a high-end rotational pass rusher behind Watt and Highsmith, I should say. Yeah, Black. I thought that one was a little early, but a solid physical nose tackle. Then Will Howard in the 6th round, thought he could have went in the 4th. The way he played down the stretch in the playoffs, the national championship, he looked like a 2nd-round pick. Before that, he kind of looked like a 6th-round pick, but combining those things and how he's improved and how he won games and his physicality, his prototypical size, it's a really good value pick in the 6th round. A flyer on Bruner in the 7th. Dante Kent was a sneaky one. That's a good flyer there in the 7th round. The Central Michigan corner, pretty damn athletic, had a really solid season for them. So I like this. I like this draft. I think you're gonna see some impact from this draft. Derek Harmon's gonna be awesome. Caleb Johnson's gonna be incredible for them. Will Howard, could he play for them right away? And Sawyer's gonna be an impact. This is a good draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get an A. Browns get a B+. They missed out on generational top-tier number 1 talent Travis Hunter, but they load up on some picks. At the same time of them loading up on picks, I know last year is factored into that, but they draft 2 positions twice. So they draft 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs. So how much throughout the roster, even though they went back and added picks, does it actually impact? So that's kind of a knock on them a little bit here on kind of what kept them out of the A range. And the Gabriel pick I thought was pretty bad. Yes, he was always pretty productive no matter where he went. He won football games. Throwing motion's a little wacky. The release, he tried to tweak it over the years. Just guys in the past, when they have that, when they're trying to tweak it, they don't typically work out. Doesn't mean no guy ever will, but I think Shedor's better than him. But we'll see. They have so many quarterbacks, though. It's like the Gabriel pick was not a great. It felt early, and that made trading for Pickett look bad. And then drafting Shedeur made Gabriel pick look even worse, and it made the Pickett trade look even worse. So just too many quarterbacks there. Just kind of focused on 2 things for the most part. So there are some knocks here for Cleveland. But at the end of the day, they get a great player in Mason Graham. Carson Swessinger, this is a really good linebacker that they get at the top of the 2nd round. Instinctive, great in coverage. Maybe one of the better true off-ball linebackers in this class. Quinshon Judkins, this is a stud running back. At this point, I'm like, he's going to be super productive, and they get Dylan Sampson, so I'm like, okay, they're going to split. But those are 2 really good running backs. That's my number 4 running back and my number 7 running back in Sampson. Those are 2 really solid running backs. I'm wondering who's going to get more. They're going to split them. They're going to split them, near the goal line. They're both so good around the goal line. Sampson's actually a little bit better, but they both fight. But that'll be a lot of fun. Those are 2 really good value pick from Sampson. Harold Fannin right around where you expect him to go in the 3rd round. But what are they going to do with him and Njoku? They're very similar. So how are they going to make that work? I guess Fannin the long-term answer there. And you have the quarterbacks, but technically, Shedeur is a great value pick in the 5th round. I mean, this guy was even though he was overhyped, I felt like I think it was 41st on my board, so that when the consensus was 17, so I kind of felt pretty good where I had him, but even with my board, he ends up being a steal, so he could end up being, Joe Flacco's probably going to start right away, but Shedeur's could end up being their best quarterback year 2, maybe earlier than that, so that's a really good pick down there, but yeah, it's interesting tactic here. You got a guy that's a lesser Njoku. You got 2 running backs. You got 2 quarterbacks. You got a guy that's just going to replace JOK. So that's not really. It's great. You got Schwarzenegger, but it's not really that great that you got to replace a great linebacker already. So that's the knock on this. Like, how much better than they actually get? So that keeps them from being in an A range. But they get really good players throughout. Like, all these players are good. Everybody they took is good. Gabriel was very early for me, but so it was a interesting But solid draft for the Cleveland Browns. They get a B+. Baltimore Ravens got a haul. A lot of guys there. B+ for them. Malachi Starks, I was actually a little lower on him than everyone else. But I think it's a really solid fit. I just didn't think he played well in the slot this year, which was a lot of man coverage. But 2023 he played well at free safety. I feel like just looking at what the Ravens have, just knowing what I know, I think he's going to play free safety. So that makes me a little more comfortable with it because they have corners that can play in the slot. They need a free safety, and it's a good spot for him to land. Mike Green was an absolute steal. Yes, he had some off-the-field concerns in the past, but it's kind of what they've been missing for the most part, is a guy that can really rack up a lot of sacks, consistently get after the quarterback, and he can do that. He's very skilled. He's a little undersized. It shows at times, but that's okay. I think it's a good fit. He's really going to help the Ravens. Emory Jones, I thought he was solid at right tackle, kind of highs and lows, but there was a lot of talk about NFL teams liking his upside at guard. The Ravens needed a guard. They got him. He might start. Teddy Buchanan, he was the guy that was growing on me, the linebacker from California. I think it's a really safe pick in the 4th round. You know what you're going to get from him. He's pretty much a sure tackler, could read the run, get downhill. He's not going to destroy guys, or he's not going to make insane plays in coverage, but he checks off every box. He gets the job done. He's a pretty good athlete as well. California had a solid defense. Carson Vincent, a little early there. Kone from Western Michigan, he caught my eye during the year. Solid corner. Tyler Loop, I did not have anything on him. Wester, good athlete at the receiver position. Thought more of a 7th round maybe. But this is where they kind of made some money again. They were making money early. Then it's like, all right, okay. But then Anais Peebles, I thought he could have went anywhere in the 4th or 5th round. He's very undersized, but man, he explodes off the ball. He has a collection of pass rush moves. He's be a good rotation guy. Robert Longerbeam, very undersized, but he doesn't play like it. He attacks downhill. He's always up in someone's face. He's very physical. He can play outside, inside. It's a really good depth piece. Garrett Dellinger it's a very underrated player in the 7th round. This guy has the traits you look for, and he's got good experience, playing different, spots in the offensive line. He's going to be a guard, but the Ravens badly needed guard help. More than one. They got 2 LSU guys. Emory Jones, again, going to move the tackle from guard, probably. Doesn't really have to, but they got some guys that can make an impact for them. They got a long list of guys here, but it felt like a B+. Definitely was not getting in the A range for me. This felt like B or B+, but this, again, B+ is what I'm giving the Ravens. The Bengals end up getting a C+ for me, but I actually like Shamar Stewart. There's a lot of people that don't like Shamar Stewart. They don't like the pick there. I gave that one an A. You saw it in our day 1 grades video. So I love that one. I think he's got an insane amount of upside, but he shows flashes now. You could see his traits in action. Just because he's not getting sacks doesn't mean he's not winning reps. So I love that one. Demetrius Knight, he's got a fan base out there, and I think he's a good player. He's fun. I thought that was early for him. He's an older prospect. Didn't really get on the field until now, this last year. He had some flashy plays here and there, but so how much are you going to get from him year 1? Then Dylan Fairchild, I thought he was 3rd or 4th round pick. He might make an impact and play for them right away. Barrett Carter, I felt like I was a little lower on him. Looking at my, again, my rankings, everything, all these videos, it's free for everyone before the draft. So it's not like I'm making stuff up after the draft. Some people get a little carried away in the comments in these videos. But Barrett, I was a little lower on him just because, he's athletic. He's kind of one of those classic Clemson linebackers that they're so unique and they play in the slot at bit. He played more middle linebacker down the end of his career, but these guys have had a hard time translating because it's a lot different game for them. He's gonna have to be better with his run fits. He'll kind of run by the ball carrier, and sometimes he'll dive back and make a shoelace tackle, ankle tackle. I don't think he's going to get away with that stuff in the NFL. Like, his approach to making these tackles downhill aren't the greatest, and he already misses some tackles on top of it. So it's not a bad pick. I know it sounds like I'm saying it's a bad, but there's probably some people out there like, that's a great pick. I'm just not there with that one. It's a decent pick there. Jalen Rivers, I like this pick. He was a good tackle for Miami, but there's some questions about him having the quickness to play tackle in the NFL. But when he filled in that guard, he looked legit. He looked like a legit guard. And the Bengals could use a guard, and they can use a backup tackle as well. So I like the versatility there. That's a good pick. Taj Brooks, right around where he should go, but I think he'll make an impact for the Bengals. They needed a backup running back that's a little more physical compared to Chase Brown. And then the bonus is he's one of the better pass protectors in the entire class. That's great for Joe Burrow. He wasn't super of an explosive runner. He was really patient for my liking. So in terms of running ability, I probably would have graded him 7th round, but you factor in that he's physical, he's got production, he's an insane pass protector. This made sense, and I just like the fit, so I like it that much more. But it's a C+ for me. I actually love the Shamar Stewart pick. After that, there's really no wow. There's a reach in there. It's not bad, though. They got good ball players. I think Bengals fans should probably start getting used to Al Golden really valuing linebackers. He values them so much. I mean, they drafted 2. And if these guys don't work out or what they have don't work out, they're going to find more. It's very important to him if you look at that Notre Dame defense in the past. It's important to having starters, but really good rotation guys as well. So that's why they're taking shots on linebackers here. So interesting one from the Bengals. It felt like a C+ was pretty fitting. But it's not me saying it's bad, right? C+ isn't you're awful, bad draft. Not the case. The Vikings, I want to say this is as good of a 5-pick draft that you will see, but the Commanders, who we talked about, had a slightly better one. I'd say just maybe because you're getting more day one impact, that'll be the difference. The Commanders, down to the 7th round, I think they're getting a day one impact. But the Vikings, another team, 5 draft picks, and I do my guys list before the draft. There's 20 players on it. They took 2. Out of their 5 picks, they took 2, just like the Commanders, on that list, and it's their first 2 picks. Donovan Jackson was my number 1 guard in the class. Plays at such a high level. It even played tackle at a high level, so it's perfect for the Vikings. Day 1 starting left guard. If he has to move the tackles to injury, he can do that. Ty Felton, you guys, I was raving about him. I love Ty Felton. He has the makings of today's style NFL receiver, freak athlete. He had some games where he was just purely dominant. They had no answer. And the Vikings are one of those teams that, they'll dish out a lot of snaps per game to more than just Jefferson and Addison. You see Naylor get a high snap count, so and he dropped the ball a bit last year. So Felton and the Vikings know their receivers too, so I think he'll be solid for them. Right off the bat, they get 2 of some of my favorite players in the class. Then Tyrone Ingram Dawkins from Georgia. I had a 3rd round grade on him. And again, all the grades and rankings are done pre-draft free for everyone to see. They get him in the 5th round. This guy has so much upside. He is freaky explosive off the ball. He can play D-tackle, and he can play off the edge. He tested extremely well. Perfect landing spot for him because they have veteran guys up front right now that are going to start right now. And you don't really expect to be a 5th round pick to be a starter anyways, but he can learn from these guys. A lot of veterans, like they had Jonathan Allen there. I think that's perfect. These guys aren't going to last forever, so he can take over. Kobe King, kind of an old school middle linebacker. I had a 5th round grade on him. They get him in the 6th. Then Gavin Bartholomew from Pittsburgh. I thought he could have been taken in the 5th round too. He was really tough after the catch. He was a guy I was looking at. I'm like, he could be more productive at the next level. So he'll learn behind Hawkinson for a little bit here. So, if you go down the list, you got 2 of my guys. I thought Felton was a 2nd round guy. Ingram Dawkins, I thought was a 3rd round guy. Kobe King, I had as a 5th. Bartholomew, 5th. So technically, they got steals almost everywhere, and they got a couple of my favorite players. It almost sounds like I'm explaining an A draft grade, but yeah, I guess if you had to nitpick how much impact, you're getting some impact from Donovan Jackson. We're going to see Felton a little bit more than you think. Kobe King could play. Pace has had his injuries, so this is a really solid draft for the Vikings. And factor in, they came in with 4 picks. They end up with 5. They used a pick to get a backup quarterback in Sam Howell, and they still end up with more picks than they started with. So either they did a really good job maneuvering and making picks that were from what they really needed, and some good value picks as well. So they did a good job. Give them an A-. Green Bay Packers get a B+. They started off with a bang. I gave the Matthew Golden pick an A+. He was my top receiver in the class. Packers needed a legit number 1 receiver. They have a long list of number 2 receivers, and they get that number 1 receiver. So explosive. Jordan Love is going to love him. Golden's going to be way more productive at the next level. But a perfect situation. There's a collection of receivers, just like Texas. There's a collection of weapons to spread the ball out to. It's really good fit. Anthony Bell felt a little bit early. I'm like, what do the Packers really need him for right now? Is this more of a depth at first? Is he going to compete for left tackle? Is he going to compete for a guard spot? I don't know about that, but he's a physical, solid offensive lineman. And Savion Williams, I thought was a little early as well, but they'll use him in gadget plays. He'll make some big splash plays. He dropped the ball a lot though, but he also made some spectacular catches. Barron Sorrell's a solid pick here in the 4th round. I thought it was odd that he was at the draft, by the way. I don't know if anyone else found that odd when they picked him in the 4th round. He went out. It's like he knew he was getting picked by the Packers. I don't know, but really strong hands. One of the best hand users out of the pass rushers in this class. Actually stops the run. Could be a little more explosive, but a solid athlete as well. He can play for the Packers early on. Colin Oliver is tweener, or I guess a versatile linebacker playing edge and off ball. He's a little undersized for edge, but he got after the quarterback at a pretty high level. Warren Brinson was a steal. I thought he was maybe the most underrated player in the draft. He was up there. It's a really solid defensive tackle. He played across the defensive line. He's got power to play inside. His ability to anchor shows on tape. And he's got the quickness to play 3 technique as well. So the Packers could use him in different scenarios. I didn't have anything on Robinson. John Williams, a sneaky pick as a flyer down here in the 7th round. Could play tackle or guard for them. A good depth pick there. So overall, start with an A+. Some picks that were a little early. Are they going to be an impact right away? But then there's some, guys like Sorrell, Brinson, really like. So this felt like a B+ draft for the Green Bay Packers. Chicago Bears get a B. And I've noticed the way people are talking, everyone's all over the place with this draft. There's some people that, kind of like it in the B range. And there's some people that just don't like it because they're like, how much are these guys going to play right now? Like how much they drafted guys where they already have guys. So I think that's what people are knocking it a little bit too much for that. But I don't really look at it like that. I look at it, they got some good ball players. I mean, Loveland was a little bit of a surprise. I know some Bears fans weren't thrilled about that one when we mocked it, but that's a weapon for Ben Johnson's offense. That's what I'm noticing with this draft. New staff comes in, not front office, but staff led by Ben Johnson. He went and guys that fit him, that guys that he likes, right? Goes and gets a guy like Loveland. It's more of a receiver tight end, but he can play in line, but 60% of his snaps came away from in line, so he's more of a big receiver. And they draft a receiver, Luther Burden, who's an explosive slot receiver, and so everyone's going like, I got a lot of, too many players for the snaps to go around here. They all can't get big-time snaps. So but I think people are knocking a little bit too much for that. To me, Burden's a really good football player, explosive slot receiver, played like 90% of his snaps in a slot, like 38 or so snaps out wide. So he's a slot receiver, and he's explosive. He's going to be an impact, a good weapon for Caleb Williams. And you remember St. Brown, and it was the best receiver, the most important receiver in Ben Johnson's offense as a slot receiver. So, and they had Zacchaeus for the slot, but they had Loveland, who plays in the slot and play outside. DJ Moore and Adunze play outside. DJ Moore, he can move about anywhere. So, there's not enough snaps to go around for all these guys to be getting 80, even, a couple of these guys are going to get 80% plus snaps. Some other guys will have less. So, be interested to see how they use them. The future, like long term, could definitely be Bird and Odunze. DJ Moore is so good. He was a little underwhelming last year, but so good that it's hard to not put him in that equation. Like today, he's still probably their best receiver. And they got Loveland, who's like a big receiver. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they use these guys. And then Traplow, who I thought played very well at right tackle. He can play left, but I thought he played better at right tackle. He was actually my top tackle entering the day. It was a weaker day of the rest of the draft being from the tackle class, but I thought he was the top one going into day 2. Was impressed with him at right tackle this year. So Darnell Wright's at right tackle. I know Ben Johnson crew didn't draft him, but I would still like for them to try out Darnell Wright. Do they put Traplow at left? Do they give up on Braxton Jones? So we'll see what happens there. And then Shamar Turner, who I liked, he was actually my top defensive tackle entering the day. He is super explosive, super twitchy, a freak athlete. He disrupts plays. He can finish a little bit better, and he can cut it out with the 15-yard penalty, but it's a guy that's very passionate. He's got a lot of upside. I think we'll see him on passing downs with Grady Jarrett, and that could be a problem for teams there with just how explosive those guys are, and he can learn from Grady Jarrett and kind of take over in the near future as a starter there, but I think early downs will be Billings, and they do have Javon Dexter, who you think has upside. Still hasn't really panned out, but felt like he played out of position at Florida, so he still has upside kind of getting in the mix of things here, and he's got a better defensive coordinator now. So, and then, this is where it was a major reach here, one of the bigger reaches I thought in the draft with Hippolyte from Maryland. You kind of felt like this guy was a late round pick just because of his athleticism. He's lacking physicality, but that was a reach for me. Zal Frazier, though, I thought that was a really solid pick. He's an older prospect, and he's only a 1-year starter, so he dropped, but this is a guy with length, ball skills, 6 interceptions this year. He was impressive on tape to me. Freak athlete. You don't need your 5th round pick to start, but this is really quality depth at the corner position for Dennis Allen. Luke Newman, I didn't have anything on him, so that's unfortunate, but it's a 6th round. And then Kyle Monagai from Rutgers. He doesn't have runaway speed, but you love the contact bounce from him. I was surprised the Bears waited this long to take a running back, but they got a guy that could end up being their running back too, behind DeAndre Swift. We'll see. But interesting draft. But my takeaway is they got talented players, especially in the 2nd round when they should. They had 3 second-round picks. Big-time reach in the 4th. Didn't have anything on Newman. But my takeaway is Ben Johnson came in. He's getting guys that he, fits his team, that he likes. So I think he's going to ride with his guys from this class. So I think these guys are, some people saying these guys are going to play a ton. I think these guys are going to play a lot more than people think. So we'll give this one a B. But an interesting draft from Chicago. Detroit Lions, unfortunately get a C, but that doesn't mean like bad. It's just a little underwhelming, and because the Lions had there was so many drafts I was grading A+ as an A, like the first quite a few years under Brad Holmes, and even those drafts were kind of considered surprising, but they panned out. Like we were right about those ones. But lately, yeah, this one was a little different, but it's tough because the Lions are a pretty complete roster. This is a Super Bowl-like roster here, so they don't really need immediate starters. So that's why, you can't knock them too much for it. But they start off with Tyreek Williams, who's a good player. He stops the run, which they look for. They have a lot of interior defensive linemen already, though. There wasn't a lot of things that screamed first round about him. Like, how much is he involved in the passing game? Just how involved in general is he going to be for the Detroit Lions? This just feels like insurance, but he's going to play, early on. But insurance in case the guys get injured like they got injured last year, or do they move on from DJ Reader sometime soon? It's a possibility. I hope McNeil stays healthy because I've been a huge fan of him since NC State. The guy's a stud. And they get Ratledge, which is a solid pick on like late 2, early 3. That's right around they got him. He could start at guard for them right away. Isaac Tesla, and I do factor in trades to this because it's part of the draft. The trade that they made to go up here was just wild. It did not make sense at all. And Tesla, it felt a little early, but he's got incredible hands. He's a 6'4" slot receiver, which I think they'll have plans of moving him outside because St. Brown dominates the slot. So maybe he could kind of be that Tim Patrick role even better, perhaps. But a lot of upside there. Just a lack of production from him, was kind of the knock there. But really good hands, obviously, and really good size. Miles Frazier was an A+ pick for me. Once again, it's been every year since Brad Holmes has been the GM of the Lions. He's taken at least one player from my guys list, and then there was one player this year. So he has a chance to start for them. He definitely has a chance to start. I think in the future, we could see Ratledge and Frazier being the starters at guard there. So I like what they did at guard. But it was crazy. Like their one big need was an edge rusher, and they waited so long. They grabbed the Boise State edge rusher here. I thought he was undrafted, maybe 7th round, but he started playing football not too long ago, so you could say maybe he has upside. Dan Jackson, a pretty decent pick there. Dominic Lovett, athletic. Just kind of a gadget. Get him screen passes type receiver. Go back-to-back Georgia Bulldogs there. But C doesn't mean it's not a bad draft. It's not. I hated the trade they did. That was pretty brutal. The value just did not match up. They got crushed on that one. So, and just how many guys are going to make an impact right now? Again, the guards could. But yeah, here's my take. It's my opinion. Here's my feeling. I think Campbell and company, they're going a little too far with finding their brand, like their specific brand. And I would be the same way. I want guys that love football. They're tough SOBs. They'll do anything for their teammates. I want those guys too. And the Lions have been drafting those guys, but I think they're really narrowing it. Their board. That's what it feels like. They're really narrowing their boards down to the guys that specifically fit what the character they look for. And I understand it, but it's creating kind of weird draft classes here, and it's really narrowing down their options. So, and it wasn't the strongest draft class in general, so maybe that could be a reason for it as well. But an interesting draft. But again, Williams is a good player. Even if it's early, it's a good player. Love the Miles Frazier pick. Ratledge will be solid for them. It's another, nasty dog of a guy, just kind of fits what they're looking for, and he's a good football player. So Lions get a C. Colts are going to get an A, though they did a great job. They started off with an A+. Tyler Warren just falling right in their lap, exactly what they needed. Going to elevate them so much. They only had a couple of massive needs, and that was one of them. Then JT Tuimoloau was one of my favorite players in the class. Very underrated. He's a very safe pick, very safe bet to be very solid. He's so instinctive, involved on every single down. I have a hot take that he might be their best pass rusher this year. As good as Latu could be, as good as Pay could be, but we're still waiting on that. He just hasn't really worked out fully yet, even though he's been decent here and there. I'd watch out for Tuimoloau being that guy. Justin Wally, one of the more underrated players in the class, is a very athletic, playmaking, instinctive corner. I think we could see Charvarius Ward, Wally, and Kenny Moore out there. The other guys haven't been consistent, or a guy like Brents hasn't been healthy. Jalen Travis, maybe a little early, but I do like the situation. This is a very good coaching staff at developing offensive line, and you bring a big body, massive guy with upside like this in to learn behind Braden Smith for a year, and he could take over. DJ Giddens, really good value pick. This is a freaky athlete that has really good size and really good production to go along with it. Riley Leonard, that's right around where he should go, but I like the fit. This is kind of like another Daniel Jones type quarterback, running quarterback, very likable kid. He's not the best passer in the world right now. Tim Smith, right around where he should go. And then Wohler, the Wisconsin safety, is a downhill thumper, really fun to watch, experience. This is a really solid value pick in the 7th round. So this feels like an A draft. You got an A-plus pick there at the top. You could say Giddens maybe is an A-plus pick. I just really like JT Tuimoloau, which has been a huge, whoever got him, I was going to be a huge fan of it. And I think he could be the best pass rusher on the Colts this year. I think some people might call that bold. I don't think it's that bold. I think it could happen. A for the Colts. Titans are going to get a B, just a solid B draft, and maybe close to being a B+. But Cam Ward had to be done. He's going to elevate this team, makes them a lot better. He helps wherever he went. He helped them win. Femi Oladejo, a little early for me, just because I think this is kind of a boom or bust round 2 pick. Boom or bust, because he's a little bit of a tweener. Off-ball linebacker changed to an edge rusher, and for first time playing edge, he was pretty good, right? So that's the positive, has upside. While watching him play, he would stunt a lot, or they would line him up, take him away from the edge, and just line him up like a blitzing linebacker. So he still kind of gives you the tweener vibes. Maybe he is an off-ball linebacker. He's got to go off the edge for the Titans. They need it bad. But sometimes those guys, history shows those guys that are tweeners like that, they struggle a little bit, but I think they're going to really work him off the edge. I want him to pick a spot, work him there. I think it'll be off the edge. He's really nasty stopping the run, though. Titans will be a really good team stopping the run. So a little early, a little risky, but a high upside guy there. Hassan Reddick upside. I don't think he's going to be that, but that's his upside. Kevin Winston's a good pick, a little risky, came off an injury. But I think it'll be a really good, strong safety for them, but can play free. DK, I didn't love this pick. I know a lot of people did. Nobody really loved him, but kind of liked him there. But you see the athleticism. He gets open down the field. He can track the ball. Home run type guy. But I just don't overthink things with receivers when they drop the ball. He had more drops than touchdowns. Now, is that going to stay true his whole career? Doesn't mean that. But I just thought it was pretty damn early. I didn't love that pick. Gunnar Helm's a good pick. This is one of the more balanced tight ends, inline tight ends that kind of just feels like he's getting going. People knock him because of his speed, but he moves after the catch. He breaks tackles after the catch. He'll hurdle you even. So I think he's underrated. Alec Iomanner, I honestly thought he was a little overhyped, but I think it's a really good pick in this spot. And he's probably going to play for the Titans this year and make an impact. I think he's better than DK, different players, but I think he can make an impact from Jackson Slater, right where he should go. A guard with some upside. He'll learn behind Zeitler. That's a perfect situation. Marcus Harris, right where he should go. But that California secondary is well coached. They're prepared for the NFL. They ran every possible coverage, which you can't say about 95% of the schools, it feels like, out there. And then Cleo Mullins was a pleasant surprise this year, taking over as Michigan's running back over Edwards, and he's a physical runner, which the Titans kind of are lacking in there right now. So that's what they could use. So it just kind of feels like, there's really no wow, A+. Helm was pretty damn good there, but this is a solid, and Winston's a really solid pick. It's a solid B draft here for the Tennessee Titans. Houston Texans had an interesting outing. I do, for everybody, I factor in the trades because it's part of the draft. And they made some wacky trades, I thought, and they're playing. In the first round, you hear they wanted to move up for Ekbuka. They couldn't do that. It's not a big deal. They wanted Donovan Jackson. He goes the pick before them. And they traded out, and then they tried to trade back in for Connolly, so they kind of messed that up. And then there's some weird trades. And there was a trade with the Dolphins on day 2 where it just didn't make sense. They're giving up 3s for 4s. They're giving up 5s for 6s. And with the Browns, they're giving up, I don't know. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. At times it feels like they're more worried about trading than just getting better and picking. So I didn't like that. But it's still in the B range because they got some good players here. Jaden Higgins, right around where he should go. Really solid receiver. They also get his teammate, Jalen Noel. That's a really good value pick. That's the borderline an A+ pick down there. How much are these guys going to play? They'll be rotating in. They'll be solid. But they're going to be part of the future for sure. Ursary, and they badly need an offensive lineman. They get him in the second. He's kind of a boomer bust player there. Jalen Smith felt a little early. I think that was the trade with the Dolphins that was a little wacky. And he's good. Like, he would be a third-round talent, but he's got injured in every single year of his career. So, and then Woody Marks, it felt pretty early, or that might have been the trade that I was talking about. I think it might have been that one. But Woody Marks, really good pass-catching, shifty back. It's a good pairing with Mixon. It's kind of the type of back they needed. Just felt a little early. I think Reed was a good value pick there. Safety from Penn State would be depth right now. Mertz. First game he ever played at Wisconsin looked like he was going to be a future star, but it was one game, and then after that he couldn't really get it together. Keontae Hamilton is a sneaky sleeper pick down there. I like that pick a lot. I think he'll stick with that team. He's got a wrestler background. You kind of can tell by the way he plays. He's explosive. And Luke Lackey, the Iowa tight end, seemed to work out. Like, he was really lacking production, but that could be a sneaky one there. So, yeah, how much impact are we going to get right away with this? But you got some pretty solid players. I didn't love the trades, but it just feels like a firm B-. Jacksonville Jaguars, they started off with the best player in the draft, generational prospect Travis Hunter's going to be an elite receiver for them, could play corner at a pretty high level for them as well, which they could use. After that, it was a little underwhelming. That doesn't mean bad. It's just nothing really like that's standing out to me, after Hunter. And they did trade away a lot to go up and get Hunter. We have to factor in. But Caleb Ransall, another slot player. There's some talk about him playing safety. They have kind of a bunch of those guys, a bunch of nickel guys. And then Wyatt Millum, right around where he should go. Tackle turned guard. Going to be depth for now, but I guess he could fill in at either spot. Bayshul, too, another guy I thought was a little overhyped by people. This is kind of where he should have went. I thought there were better running backs on the board, but he's good. He's a home run hitting guy. But you can argue he's the third best running back on that team, but it's a new coaching staff, or they might just play their guys. Kind of similar to the Bears situation. They might, do you want a guy like Bigsby who took off last year to lose snaps? Etienne has shown when healthy he'd be super good. Do you want those guys to lose snaps? Not really, but they draft a guy like this in the fourth round, you want him to play, so you can't have both, right? I guess all three of them can split. Jack Kaiser, smart, experienced linebacker, right around where he should have went. Is he going to be depth right away, though? McLeod, late round pick, going to be depth. Lane, kind of a flyer. Monheim, center from USC, maybe makes the roster as a backup center. We don't want to carry too many of those. LaQuint Allen, what stood out about him is pass catching ability and pass protection ability. He's an upright runner. I think he's a better receiver than he is runner. And he's a very good pass protector as well. But another running back, for a kind of a crowded room, do they trade a guy like Etienne possibly? So B- I think is fair. It's a little. There's not a lot. There wasn't spots where I'm going at all. They got the best player in the draft, but after that, I'm not really going, wow, like a great pick, what a pick. I'm not really doing that a lot. But there's no misses here. I think Ransall was a little early, but he's a good football player. There's definitely no reaches or ones that feel like misses. So to me, I couldn't drop him to a C+, but felt like a B- was correct here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Carolina Panthers did very well. I gave them an A. There are, in my opinion, no misses here. There's definitely no reaches. This is a consistent, I like to call it, draft here. Tetsuo McMillan, right around the range we thought he can go. I think he's a great fit. It's a great fit. Exactly what Bryce Young, Dave Canales needed. This is fantastic. And then you got Nick Scorton there in the second round, right around where he should go. They badly needed a pass rusher. They get one who looked a little bit better in 2023. I think he can get back on track to playing that way. And then Princely Uman-Mielen, he's got a track record of having production. You might see him playing a lot right away. The game against Georgia for him was dominant, which is big. It's a big competition game right there. Speaking of Georgia, Trevor Etienne, he does everything well, right? He pretty much checks every box. He's got some durability concerns. He's not an every down back. They got a really good deep running back room, but I think the best part about Etienne, he's a really underrated good route runner. He's a solid pass protector as well. Lathan Ransom, really good in the box, attacking downhill, filling gaps, stopping a run, really good tackler, lays the boom at times. My only worry about this is because he's a strong safety. Javon Merrick played free early in his career, and he was known as a kind of a bust, like almost a bust. And then the Raiders switched him to strong more, like in the box, like he played at TCU. He played both at TCU, but people didn't talk about that enough. He played way more up in the box where he was great, and he was great with the Raiders there. The Panthers get him big money, and it kind of felt like they were going to use him in the box, but they drafted a box safety. So I'm a little nervous about that. Maybe it's just the rotation, though. Maybe it's just the rotation, like using Merrick in both spots. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Cam Jackson, really solid nose tackle. He's not going to be involved in passing downs, but Freaky size, freaky length, really good against the run. And guess what? The Panthers were awful against the run. So this is something they needed. So that's like one of those picks where it's like, it's not super flashy at all, but it's like, man, that's what they needed. That's good. Mitchell Evans looked like a second-round pick in 2023. Got injured. Didn't quite look there in 2024, but still really solid, really strong hands. It's a good tight end. I thought he was a fourth-round pick. Jimmy Horn Jr., athletic slot receiver, home run type guy, just always open, always making plays. Good situation for him to learn behind Adam Thielen. Every pick is good. Every single pick is good. It's close to being an A+ because there's a lot of picks I like. Every pick is good. There's not a single wow, how'd they do that pick for me for it to be A+, but it's so good. This is such a good draft. This helped the Panthers. This got them a lot better, so I'm impressed and thrilled with what they did. The Atlanta Falcons get an A-. I mean, if you look at the 5-player draft they brought in, there was a couple other ones too, Commanders and Vikings. This is a legit 5-pick draft. I do factor in trades to all these because it's part of the draft. And that first-round trade was a little wacky. I mean, they gave up insane value. They won't have a first-round pick next year because of it. And they were already thin on picks this year. So, yeah, I guess that's to compare with the Commanders and the Vikings with their crazy 5-pick drafts. Those teams didn't really need to trade to make their picks. That'll be the difference. But they got impact here. So it stays in the A- range, in the A range here at A-. Jalen Walker's going to be a starter for them. He's going to be very versatile, very impactful. James Pierce, even though the trade was wild, I love James Pierce. He's my number 3 edge rusher in the class. I had him rated higher than Walker, actually. And he's going to be an impact. He's going to get after the quarterback. He can do different things as well, just like Walker, maybe not to that extent. But Xavier Watts was my number 2 safety. This dude is a playmaker. Pair him with Jesse Bates. That is the best playmaking safety duo in football. I mean, the interceptions, the takeaways between the two of those guys, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Billy Bowman Jr., really good value pick. I think he's in a starting slot for them. The secondary is ridiculous right now. Jack Nelson, decent pick there in the 7th round. Good experience at tackle. He got his ass kicked against Alabama, but it's Alabama, the 7th round pick. So really, on paper, this is a really solid draft, and I think it's going to be on the field as well. I mean, you do factor in the trade a little bit, so it pretty much brings it from an A to an A-, but the players and the impact they brought in for their defense was really, really solid. Tampa Bay Buccaneers get a B+, just a solid draft for them. Emeka Egbuka is one of the surprises of the first round. They have 1 million receivers, but they know receivers. He's a really good bet to be really solid. He's going to make an impact in some way. I mean, how many snaps is he going to get year 1? I guess it's a question, but it's going to be really good. Benjamin Morrison, loved this pick in the 2nd round. I mean, it's about where we thought he would go, but I love it. This guy could be the best corner in the class if he's healthy. He's shown that in the past. The second he stepped on the field at Notre Dame, dude was lights out. Was a playmaker at first, then teams feared him, so he was locked down Marvin Harrison Jr. in 2023. Awesome. Jacob Parrish was on my guys list. Feisty, dog, always up in someone's face, downhill tackler, only 5'9". He played outside and on passing third downs, he played slot. He could start in the slot. We could see McCollum, Morrison, Parrish. Boom. I mean, that looks really good. And then David Walker, production machine. He'll make an impact. Yeah, maybe you wish the Buccaneers got an edge rusher a little earlier, but they got impact players, good players earlier. David Walker had a lot of production at Central Arkansas. He played weaker competition, but loved the explosive get-off. He's a little undersized. Elijah Roberts played off the edge, but he's so big, so physical. Could be more of an end in their 3-4 scheme. But sometimes they have guys you think are 4-3 ends play off the edge for them, and it works out. So another option there. He was very productive, very physical. Not a lot of juice off the snap. And Tez Johnson, I mean, how many slot receivers do the Buccaneers need? But it's a really solid slot receiver, very, very productive for the Oregon Ducks this year. So it's a pretty decent pick down. He's very small, but pretty decent pick down here. Just you're not going to see a ton of them right away because they have 1 million receivers, specifically slot receivers. Just there's no misses here. These are solid picks all the way through. There's no wow picks. There's guys that I do really like though. So this feels like a B+ pick, maybe close to A-. Wait a little bit to take an edge rusher, but this is a solid draft for Tampa Bay. The Saints with an interesting draft. They started off a little slow for me in terms of, they're getting impact players because, Shuck might be able to start, but a little lower on the grade. Banks is good. Helps the offensive line. It just felt a little early for me. But something that kind of had to be done for Kellen Moore to kind of get that offensive line going. And then Shuck is early for my board, mainly not because of the talent. He's talented. He's got experience in air raid. He's got experience in pro style. This year at Louisville, very productive, productive size. He's got arm talent. A little scared to get hit. That's kind of the knock on him, and that's it, in terms of on the field. So that actually says second round. But he has major durability concerns. So that scares me. So wasn't the best pick in the world, but he can make an impact for you there. But that's when the Saints started turning it on. Vernon Broughton was on my guys list. Loved him. He just got going at the end of the year in the playoffs. Dominated some of those teams, Arizona State, even Ohio State looked really, really good. And it makes sense. He was behind star players previously before this year. He's explosive getting out off the ball. He's going to be good. Jonas Sanker, loved him. Is a downhill thumper, alley running safety. It just gets you out of your seat, gets you jacked up. It's a playmaker. He's going to be good for them. It could be like a poor man's Derwin James player for Brandon Staley in that defense. Danny Stutzman, love Stutzman. If you're looking for a linebacker that just gets the job done, reading and stopping the run, getting downhill, not being afraid to get downhill in the hole, in the gap, make a play. He's your guy. He does it as good as anyone in this class. Quincy Riley, really good at playmaking corner. I'm curious to see where they play him because he was another one of those guys like Jacob Parrish where he played outside and then kind of moved inside in crucial moments. Devin Neal, solid, elusive, quick running, shifty running back. The Saints needed a back that they would probably use, and they're going to use him. He'll be pretty productive. Matavo it was pretty productive for UCLA, the tight end. And then Fadil Diggs you can use in different ways as an edge rusher, can line him on different spots. It's a pretty good flyer pick, a couple good flyer picks there. So Saints got better, I felt like, as the draft went on. Started off, the more important part of the draft, they were a little, it's not bad at all, but it's a little, on the lower end for me. So that's kind of what started at a lower grade, but they kind of picked themselves back up. So more I'm talking about, the more I like it as the draft went on. So they're kind of in that B plus range for New Orleans. The Kansas City Chiefs had a hell of a draft. This is kind of a sneaky, quiet one. I don't hear anyone talking about the Chiefs right now, but they killed round one. They traded back one spot, got a free pick, I should say, and they got a guy that just wasn't supposed to be there for them even at 31. They got him at 32. Josh Simmons could be the best tackle in this class if he stays healthy. And it's not like he has durability concerns. He's fresh off a pretty bad, brutal injury, but worked out his pro day, looked really good. He's a freak athlete, very explosive. He has power when working forward. His power and anchoring ability when sitting back could improve. That's kind of the knock there. But what the Chiefs needed, they got a potential star. Boom. I think Omar Norman Lott was a little early just because he didn't start. He wasn't trusted or good on running downs, and he was a little hyped just because, he had such a high pressure rate. He got after the quarterback, but he was in when he only had to play the pass. So in most defensive tackles' minds, hey, I'm playing the run and I'm playing the pass. It's a little more challenging. He just knew I'm going straight for the quarterback, resulted in a higher rate, but he still had a high rate at getting after quarterback. This dude is explosive, flies off the ball, a lot of upside. A little early, they picked late second round. It's not that early. Good situation to go learn from Chris Jones. They'll use him on passing downs. He'll be a factor. That's going to be a lot of fun. Ashton Jaloti from Louisville, really good in 2023. A little underwhelming compared to, they're still good, but compared to that in 2024. But good speed to power rusher here. Could make an impact from him. Noah Williams was on my guys list. This is he's got a combination of being playmaker in the back end, but also getting downhill, being a dog. He played against Alec Iomanner from Stanford. He threw him all over the place. He bullied him. This guy caught my eye years ago when he played for UNLV. He was too good for UNLV. Moved up to California, who played like an NFL-like defense, I thought. Played every coverage. This is a Chiefs corner right here. Royals is I think he was a little overhyped, but it's a good pick in the fourth round. The Chiefs will find ways to use him. Just like they'll find ways to use the Brashard Smith, an athlete. They'll find gadget plays to use him on. And Jeffrey Bassa is an interesting one because he was a defensive back as a recruit, and Oregon made him a linebacker. And when I'm watching him, I'm like, he looks more like a DB because he's so good. He's so good in coverage, but he doesn't look like that linebacker yet because he's not good reading and getting downhill and filling gaps. He's not good at that at all. But Oregon also had him playing inside. He feels more like an outside linebacker in a scheme like the Chiefs. So I think it's a good fit, a developmental guy that could make an impact early on, but really good in coverage. So I like the upside there. It's a really good draft. You got an A+ wow pick with Simmons. I love Noah Williams. There's no misses here. These are good picks, good fits, is a firm A for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a hell of a job. It's not really a surprise. It's the Chiefs. Chargers also get an A. There's a lot of teams that did solid, did really well. Marion Hampton was on my guys list, one of my favorite players for the last 3 years, even when he was a rotation guy. Like, this guy's going to be a legit NFL back. He's going to be a stud in this offense for years to come. He's going to make the Broncos pay for passing on him, in my opinion. Just think about Greg Roman's offense and, Harbaugh, just it's about physical, pound the football, wear teams out, make them pay for playing against you. That's what Hampton's all about, and he brings a little extra. He's got the speed. He's got the pass catching ability, the pass protection ability. Right now, maybe he won't be full potential because he'll split with Najee Harris a little bit. So maybe people will be, I don't think people are going to be underwhelmed, but maybe a little bit. It's not like he's going to go I still think he's going to go crazy. But long term, the guy's going to be insane. I think he'll be insane this year. Great pick. Love it. Trey Harris, I'm on record saying before the draft, this is a first-round talent. He just was injured this year, but it wasn't for the full year. And he was injured the year before. It wasn't the full year. So that's a little bit of a problem, but I felt like he was playing things safe with the injuries and, not playing. He knew he had an NFL career. This is a quarterback turned receiver. This is a legit receiver, contested catch machine. I think people knock him for the 4.5 speed, which isn't slow. Just not, very fast enough. But when you watch him on tape, he's quick. When he catches the ball in terms upfield, he's going. He outruns guys all the time. He outruns guys in routes as well. He's quick. He breaks tackles. If he stays healthy, being that outside guy, like maybe prime Mike Williams and it's all about durability, and they got Mike Williams back, but it's all about durability with him too. For Justin Herbert outside, Ladd McConkey on the inside, he has potential to be a star. I absolutely love this fit. Jamari Caldwell, undersized nose tackle, not in terms of power and thickness and weight, but in terms of height and length, undersized, but he's a dog. He instantly stops run at a high level. The Chargers, the more I'm talking, the more I'm jacked up I'm getting, because the Chargers needed to come in and it was like, man, this is a good team, but on paper, nose tackle is the weakness. It is so bad, but the talk from most people is, man, they need a receiver. Other than a slot receiver for Justin Herbert, the receivers let them down last year. They need somebody good, but they need a running back for the future as well. And they get a running back in the first round. Boom, they get a star. And it's like, God, they still need those other things, though. Boom, they get that receiver, that big-time receiver that fits perfectly. And then, boom, they get that nose tackle that stops the run at a high level. And he's very athletic for his size as well. You see a high motor. He's all over the field. So the more I'm talking, this feels like an A-plus draft for the Chargers. But I guess it's about the whole draft, but there's more good picks. Kyle Kennard's very underrated. He looked like a future first-round pick early in the year. He kind of tailed off a little bit. He is lacking power. He'll get bullied sometimes, but the dude explodes off the ball. The best pass rushers in football, they explode off the ball kind of like he does. He's productive. He'll learn from Khalil Mack. Keandre Lambert-Smith, he looks the part. He has productions. Good outside receiver, good length. He does drop the ball a bit, though. He had a lot of drops. But around this range, it's solid. Oronde Gadsden from Syracuse. More of a receiver than the tight end, so how often those types of guys work. But, man, he's an athlete. He's long. He can make contested catches. Branson Taylor, depth tackle, right around where I thought he would go. And then R.J. Mickens in the 6th round, I think is a steal. Very experienced, instinctive in coverage. Perfect for split safety, zone coverage. Chargers ran a lot of zone last year. Bridges, I didn't have anything on. It's a flyer in the 7th round, but the more I was talking, I'm so close to making this an A+. We're right there. I mean, yeah, I guess there's not a lot of wow A+ pick. I mean, I'm kind of wowed about the fits, though. So this is, you can tell right where I'm at with this. It's like A+. This is a great draft from the Chargers, who are already a good team. I love this for them. Denver Broncos, I'll give them a B-, an interesting draft. They select Jahdae Barron right away, which no one expected him to take corner, but Barron was the top corner in the class. I mean, some of the other guys that were up there could have been the top corner, but they had durability concerns. Barron is healthy. Hopefully they use him outside and both outside and the slot, because he moved to more primarily outside corner, and then he became a first-round pick. He's a little undersized, but he's very good in zone coverage, very instinctive. The way he changes directions is awesome. This is interesting because they take two guys that I like. I really, pre-draft process, I really like R.J. Harvey, just a fan. Pat Bryant, underrated. People knock him with his speed. I really like him. But at the same time of that, it felt early for both these guys. So it's like, in my head, I'm like, these are guys that I just love, but like, where am I at with this? Because RJ Harvey, I felt like a little, he's a good football player, though. He's going to be super productive for the Broncos. He's going to be really good. But it felt like a little bit of a panic. All the guys they wanted at running back, they were gone, and they just had to pick one before the run on running backs here. But he felt like a late round 3 guy, probably the earliest. That's fine there. They take him late round 2. Again, he's going to be productive for them. But at the same time, it feels like Sean Payton rather have the rotation guys rather than like, because there was some every down backs available here that he kind of passed on. And Harvey's explosive. He's really good, really productive. His pass protection's pretty brutal, though, so he's going to have to be rotation. And then Pat Bryant, so smart because you could see him read coverages and beat zone coverage. I love that because it's kind of rare to see from college football players. So that's great. And he has hands. He's contested catch type body and hands on the outside. 4.6s was his speed, and that's tough, right, when you're a receiver. But that's really the only thing. Other than that, he's really, really solid, and he might make an impact, might be solid. Savion Jones was on my guys list. This is a really good edge rusher, but here's the thing. It's starting to sound like they're going to use him on the interior. I felt like he was strictly a 4-3 defensive end. The Broncos run more of a 3-4. I mean, they can use him at both. They can use him outside linebacker, and they can use him D-line. Maybe he's behind Zach Allen for now. I just would have liked him better and more of his fit, but it's still a player I really like. Quay Robinson from Alabama, interesting one, just didn't get enough snaps, and you wonder why, but when you watch him play, you're still wondering why, because it's like, this guy's pretty good. He's explosive getting after the quarterback. He can play off ball. He stops the run pretty well. So this could be like a poor man's Nick Bonito for them down here. So that's a pretty good pick. I didn't have anything on their last 2 picks, actually. There wasn't a long list of guys I didn't have anything on, but those are late round flyers, so we don't hold that against them too much. So they got good players across the board. Some felt a little early, even though they're good players. So this is kind of a tougher one to grade here. So I give it a B-, maybe close to being a B. Heard while making this, going to record this, that Drake Greenlaw got injured just working out. So some people saying it's super severe, and some people saying it's not that severe. So I hope he's okay. So the day after the draft is pretty brutal, but that's a guy that's just been getting injured a bit. So maybe a little risk, almost like, you don't expect the guy to get injured right now, but it's one of those guys like, you really got to cross your fingers to stay healthy even during the season, and now he's getting hurt. So I hope he's okay because they didn't draft a linebacker, obviously. So hopefully that all works out. But the Broncos got some good players that'll make an impact, obviously. The Raiders, I end up giving a C+ to, which isn't bad. It does not mean bad draft. There are some good things here. There's a lot of guys that'll probably make an impact for them. They'll probably get a lot of snaps, partly due to because they got so many guys and they had so many holes that they're going to have to get snaps. So, but yeah, I guess with all these prospects they drafted, I just wish there was more like, whoa, what a pick for me, or that's like such a great fit, or I love this pick. There's just not enough of that. I think the one pick where I'm like, okay, like yes, is J.J. Pegues down in the 6th round. It's a pretty good value pick, but he played all over the place, kind of more like a gadget guy on both sides of the ball, so he can make an impact on both sides of the ball. But Ashton Genty's going to be awesome for them. Obviously an elite running back prospect. He's going to look really, really good. And then in 2nd round, Jack Besh. Everybody loves Jack Besh. I love Jack Besh. He's a safe pick. He's going to be a good receiver. He gets open. He's got really strong hands. He's pretty tough after the catch guy you're rooting for. This was a little early according to my board just because there's better receivers, flashier receivers with way more upside here. I thought he was more of a late 3rd round guy, but he's going to make an impact because the Raiders need him to. Maybe their 2nd best receiver after Jacoby Myers, but that's the thing. Like Chip Kelly, his receivers at Ohio State were just so much better than his NFL team receivers if you look at the room. So, there's that. Darian Porter, right where he should have went in the 3rd round, but this is kind of, for me, was kind of a boom or bust 3rd round guy because you're banking off length and speed with him because he's struggled for so long to get on the field, and he could polish up his technique. I see him turning and opening up his hips the wrong way a lot. So this is more of like a developmental to me corner where sit and learn behind some really good veteran corners, but he's gonna have to come in and start right away. So the good is he's gonna get snaps. It might be challenging for him right away though. And then Caleb Rogers, I thought 4th round, but I like him. A right tackle that may have to move to guard. He's got really quick feet. So where are they going to play him? I guess they could use a guy at either spot, but will he start? Charles Grant is where I'll be. You heard me talk about a pre-draft. All my rankings, all my videos, they're all up, free for everyone. spreadsheet rankings before the draft. So I'm not making grades now on these players. These are already done before the draft. Grant was a guy that I didn't really fully get the hype on. I kind of got it because he's super long and he's fast speed-wise. So everyone was kind of like, that's an upside tackle just because of that. It kind of felt like just because of that. I mean, he played fairly well. I feel like even though he's athletic, he still needs to control his body a little bit more. The pad level is super high. His hand placement's super high. He played against very weak competition. Look at specifically the offensive line positions over the years. Those guys that played really weak competition, they have a hard time panning out. This is a developmental tackle. He's got to sit. He's got to learn. And then when he finally comes in, is the competition. Can he handle the competition? So it's a boom or bust guy down here in the third round. Fourth round, to me, was pretty disastrous for the Raiders, according to my board, which is done before the draft. Dante Thornton, he had a fan base, a little bit of a fan base just because he's big and fast. But, left Oregon. They didn't really, want him that badly anymore. And then he goes to Tennessee, and then he plays that wide split outside receiver that kind of does, he's got a one-trick pony right now where he goes deep downfield, and he's pretty good at that. Getting comparisons to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, that's kind of his ceiling to me. But not a big route tree. Anytime he ran any other route, I didn't love the footwork, body catches, a lot of drops. You're just kind of relying on him catching that deep ball. That's about it right now. So fourth round was a big reach. Tonka Hemingway was he's a tweener. Like, where do you put him? They used him in different spots. He's kind of got burst, but just the developmental guy. That's my kind of issue here. Porter, Grant, Hemingway, maybe Thornton. Tommy Malone, the quarterback from Montana State, was a quarterback. He's not going to play there. He's going to play receiver. Developmental project. The Raiders need guys now. Like, they have a lot of holes to fill, and they're getting these developmental, like these little bit of projects, even though some of them are solid and maybe they're worth the risk. That's kind of my issue here. I think Pegues was a really good value pick. The Flyers in the 6th round are fine. Cam Miller's a solid backup quarterback. Lindenberg, actually, I bet you he makes an impact year one. That's a pretty decent pick. Always around the ball. He'll miss some tackles. Always around the ball, though, instinctive. So that's where I'm at with the Raiders. It's like not bad. There's a lot of guys with upside. So I guess the Raiders are just a future team. That is what they're saying. They're more going for the future. Bringing in Geno kind of disputes that, though. So it's a little, you wish there was a little bit more with all these picks. So that's where I'm at with that. I give him a C+. Not a bad draft. It's just not, left wanting a little bit more when having this many picks. A+ alert. The Arizona Cardinals, I thought, killed it, and they killed it where it matters most, too, early. Walter Nolan was my number 1 defensive tackle. I know that's bold. I had a top 5 grade on him in this draft, and the Cardinals get him at 16. Perfect fit because it's a team that needs a defensive tackle. I gave him comparisons to Jalen Carter. Maybe not quite Jalen Carter, but Jalen Carter. And Jonathan Gannon could not pass up on his new Jalen Carter with the Cardinals. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. If the character concern things don't pop up, I think that was overblown. Will Johnson in the 2nd round, yes, there's some durability concerns, but I mean, worth a shot here. This is a number 20 player on my board, an elite corner if he's healthy. He's not, I know, but they get him all the way down at 47. This guy's got ridiculous instincts. Cardinals run a lot of zone coverage as a zone coverage corner. Jordan Birch, right where I thought he should went, but Cardinals need another pass rusher, but something they don't have. They have a long list of pass rushers. They needed something they don't have there, a physical pass rusher. That's what Jordan Birch is. He's a pretty good athlete for his size. Good pick. Cody Simon, right around where he should go, but the linebacker that they really don't have, like just a kind of an old school middle linebacker that could blitz at a high level. Doesn't really have the old school size, but he kind of plays like that, right? So it's something they don't have there. It's a good player. Denzel Burke, underrated player, looked like a future first-round pick a couple years ago. This year was a little underwhelming. It's because he wasn't. He got beat a bit in man coverage, right? He got especially against Oregon, but in zone coverage, really solid, really good in press. Not good in man, but good in press. Gets downhill, tackles, likes to do it. Cardinals run a lot of zone coverage. Need another corner in here. It's a pretty solid pick right there in the 5th round. Hayden Connor, that's kind of the only knock. I guess they needed more offensive line help maybe earlier, but they got such good value earlier. But they get a guard here. And the Keaton Crawford from Nevada was a pretty solid safety / slot type guy. And it's just really, I thought he could have went in the 5th round. Really solid value. So they got a bunch of value picks, A+ picks at the top. Some guys that can make an impact. A lot of guys that make an impact, but guys that weren't A+ picks, that are just good picks, they can make an impact. It's something that they like Birch and Simon, they don't have. Something they could use. So It's a great draft. A+ for the Arizona Cardinals. Seahawks get a B+. They came away with a lot of players, a lot of solid players here. Gray Zabel, again, not the sexiest pick, but they need an offensive lineman. Solid fit. Nick Emanwari, top safety in the class, more of an upside guy, but I love the fit in Mike McDonald's defense. Going to maybe be as Kyle Hamilton. Maybe not quite as good, but good pick. Arroyo, I wasn't as high on him as others, but he's a good football player. It's just sometimes with these like tight ends, they're actually more of slot receivers, a little iffy. They have a bunch of slot receivers. Well, here's a slot tight end, I suppose. So how much of an impact is he going to make early on? We'll see. Milroe, yeah, you love the upside, the athletic ability. Will they use him on weird gadget plays? Maybe. It just, I don't know. They bring in Kubiak. It's like a West Coast offense. Which is a lot of like a pro-style pocket passing quarterback that does, familiar play action. So they're going to try to make Milroe into that. We'll see how that works. I don't know if I love it, but I don't hate it. Riley Mills, solid pick. If he didn't injure his knee, he would have went a lot earlier. Torrey Horton, solid pick. If he wasn't injured this year, he probably would have went earlier. So those two picks right there in day 3 are pretty good. Oates, I thought was a little early. Cable Dew from Kansas, that's a sneaky pick. He played tackle. He's going to move to guard. I think he'll be solid there. But the Seahawks possibly, they could use a starting guard with him. And they also need quality tackle depth, and he played there, so that's great. Damian Martinez was an A++ pick. This was a top 10 running back for me. He dropped, I guess, maybe because the mileage and because he's not going to run by anyone. He does it sometimes, but this dude is very productive no matter where he played, Oregon State, Miami. He is physical as shit. He can break tackles, lower his shoulder, run through you, run over you, and he's got some wiggle to him as well. I'm going to predict 2 years from now, this might be their starting running back, even though it was a 7th-round pick. Mason Richmond, I didn't have anything on him, and Ricky White's a pretty good pick down there in the 7th round. So there's some like good picks, not super sexy. And then there's like Milroe, how's that going to work? And then there's picks like, pretty good value or right where they should have went. So a little bit all over the place. You can expect that with a long haul, but there's some. Yeah, Emanwari is kind of like a more wild pick. Maybe Martinez, I'm out of my seat for that pick. Mills and Horton, I'm pretty close there with those ones. So it's a B+ draft for the Seattle Seahawks. Rams get a B-. Terrence Ferguson does feel a little early, but you do have to factor in the Rams don't really mess around with those. Are they tight ends, or are they really receivers? So Ferguson was, rightfully so, was higher on their board than Arroyo and Fannin, guys like that. It feels a little early, but he's got a lot of upside, in that offense. And then Josiah Stewart, maybe you can't get too excited for this because he's going to be a backup because they have Verse and Byron Young, but they have no depth and you need rotation. This feels like a perfect guy for the rotation. Athletic pass rusher, super explosive, very undersized, can drop in coverage. In obvious passing downs, they can find a way to use all 3 of those guys. Jarquez Hunter, physical running back, got some pop to him. It's a little early for me, but not bad. How much we're going to see him, though. Ty Hamilton's a pretty good value pick there. Going to be rotation. Chris Paul's a guy that could end up the MVP from this draft class, year 1. The rookie of the year from this draft class. Because they badly need a linebacker. I thought they finally were going to start valuing linebacker, though. They didn't do that here. Chris Paul's might be their best linebacker, right? But that was their problem on defense last year. And, the Eagles, that was the Eagles' problem before, and they got lucky with Bond possibly. They read that, but they made the signing, and then that kind of gave them that boost, and maybe the Rams should have learned from that. But maybe they're going to, Chris Paul is really, really good, right? Just undersized. I think he's going to be really solid for them. I just wish they took the position a little more serious. That's a really good pick. And then Munfield's a little sneaky. Yeah, he ran the 4.6s, but it's a twitchy route runner that makes some really good grabs, and they need another depth receiver there. So it's not the sexiest draft, no first-round pick, some that were a little early. So the way I talked about it, maybe you think like C+, but you do factor in with this, they acquired a first-round pick next year, which I thought was huge because they could be looking for their quarterback of the future. This wasn't the class to do it. Next year's class is. That helps them there. So I do factor that in. So it's felt like a B- for the LA Rams. The 49ers, this draft class was pretty wild. It was a little all over the place. It was very all over the place for me in terms of my board, again, which is made all the grades before the draft. But I actually ended up bumping this grade up after going through it. And actually, I do that with all these. I make the grade because I go and look at my grade, and then I kind of really sit on it, think about it, really think about it, and just fits and who's going to make an impact. And I ended up bumping it up a little bit. Michael Williams, I thought it was a little early, but I think he's going to be solid for them. Love the Alfred Collins pick, plug and play interior defensive lineman that's going to help stop the run. Nick Martin felt really early. I mean, 2023, he looked really solid. 2024, he got a knee injury. It felt early, though, and I thought I just didn't think they would take a guy because they were so done with all the guys that are coming off injuries. And I guess you could say maybe he doesn't have durability concerns, so that's good. But it's a linebacker they like. He might make an impact for them. I thought it was early. Upton Stout, you like the feistiness, downhill tackling, slot corner. Could play for them early. I thought it was a little early. So we're like a little all over the place. Early, you love the pick. CJ West, I freaking love the pick. I love CJ West. He's so explosive. He's a disruptor. He's underrated just because he's undersized, height and lengthwise, but he's got the power, and he ran in the 4.9s, and it shows on tape. He's explosive. Alfred Collins, CJ West, Michael Williams, Nick Bosa. The D-line is revamped. I mean, look at the interior alone. Alfred Collins, CJ West. I love it. Jordan Watkins. It feels a little early, but I liked Watkins. He's a really twitchy route runner, can play in the slot and play outside. Arkansas game, you look like elite receiver. One of the best receivers in the class. So there's something in him. There's something there. Jordan James, pretty solid, safe pick. You know what the Niners do at running backs. Could be pretty good for them right away. Marquise Siegel from Kansas State is a really good slot option. He played safety in the slot. Stout played slot and outside. To me, they're both slot corners. I watch out for Siegel to be better than Stout. I think it's a possibility. Curtis Rourke, a pretty good year for Indiana when he played better competition, which was kind of rare. He struggled a little bit, but the UCLA game, he was insane in that game, I thought. Ball was coming out quick, on time, was maneuvering around pressure when he had to, which you didn't really see all year, and all the other games even after that. But he's got moments in there. Didn't have anything on the last two. They were kind of flyers for them. That's the 7th round. It's okay. But as you can tell, we're a little all over the place. There's like, all right, those are kind of reaches, but they could be an impact. But then there's guys that I really, really like, and then I start putting it all together. That's kind of where I bumped up the grade. I started putting everyone together. Look at the D-line now. It's like, all right, it's coming together. It's looking good. These guys are going to make an impact. So gave it a B-. There were some reaches in there, so that kind of kept it from being a B. But a decent draft for the Niners, and they get better with this haul. They should with this many picks, right? But there you have it for grades for every single NFL team for 2025. I thought a lot of teams, as you could tell, did pretty damn well. Nobody did awful. Everybody. That's the beauty of the draft. The weekend, everybody comes in and gets better. Every single team gets better. So loved it. Was a lot of fun. This draft class ended up being a little bit better than everyone talked about it than it was expected. We'll start doing some recap content. We'll do a way too early 2026 mock, and we'll have you start getting ready for the season. The schedule release will be sometime soon. So still a lot to cover leading up to the NFL season. So like, subscribe, and turn notifications on. It's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.